Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. We are in playoffs, summer finals, and the last week of regular season if you pick whichever league that you're at. And I guess also you're about to start playoffs. Actually, every region is at a different phase of the season, but we've got you covered here. Myself, along with Yamato and Dom, to break it all down. How are you guys doing? Yamato, you look like you're in a different spot. Where are you at?
Well, I keep getting told whenever I stream from elsewhere, it's like, Yamato, are you in prison? It's like, why is that the first assumption? Like, do I come across as that bad of a person? I'm visiting Sweden. I'm at my brother's apartment. I'm using his computer. I need to move away from that room once in a while. I need to air it out because the sweat that has gathered in that streaming room is crazy.
We might have a product for that. Not yet, though.
Yeah.
Not yet, though. Yamato, look at that. See, Dom? Yamato's warming up to it. He's figuring it out.
To be fair, like if I think about all my friends, if I were to start doing crime with any of my friends, Yamato would be like the first person I would go to. Like
Yeah.
Yamato and I would do some good crime together. I feel like if I did crime with Gilius, we'd just get caught like instantly. Like it would just be fucking completely doomed. But if I did crime with Yamato, I feel like we could actually like build something, sustainable.
Oh, is this a compliment? I guess it is.
I think it
Hey,
is.
we might end up in prison. But you'd be like not like I feel like you wouldn't do something fucked up. It would just be like we would go to prison for like fraud or something,
It
That's
would
not-
like get us for racketeering, some
Yeah,
tax
yeah,
evasion.
it'd be
but
like-
in
it'd be
reality,
like
our
white
empire
collar.
is massive.
Yeah, it'd be a white
Play
collar
tennis
crime.
in prison.
If it's crime, isn't it fucked up? Chat, help me here. I can't be the only one. I'm getting gaslit. Just like, oh, there's good crime, bad crime. I guess
Yeah, there's some crime yeah, I mean there's some crime that's better than others.
All right. Mainly
Depends on who you're
Yamato,
fucking over.
that's true. Fucking over the man, then that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
If you're fucking over the government, who cares, Fuck
Yeah.
this stupid ass government.
Yeah. I'm saying this from Korea, so whatever. Good luck, Dom. It mainly, Yamato, it's because it sounds a little steely in there. So, it just, the mic difference is a little different. It's not the room.
It looks like you have escape plans on your walls, to be honest. It looks
honestly,
like you have
yeah.
like the cell like mapped out. Like it literally looks like you have like
Oh,
plans
shit.
on like how you're actually gonna like break out of this place.
I didn't realize. Shit, that was a secret.
The schematics
Look
are.
away.
All right. Well, hopefully you're enjoying Sweden and all of its beaches. As that was actually the top. Everyone, last week everyone was like, what were you guys talking about beforehand? Who were you talking about? And so this week we were actually talking about beaches and getting jabbed with needles and LEC, how they're all related. And we'll get to the LEC in a little bit. Let's start with the match that we just finished with, which was Anyone's Legends gets FPX. The LPL playoffs is up and underway, and we just saw that one. FPX had a little bit of a fight back there. They were in control of game number 4. Dom, what did you make of the series?
I thought it was pretty expected how the series went. I would have said that like AL was definitely big favorites coming in, but like you're just gonna expect bloody games when you have FPX and AL. Like these are some of the most bloody teams in the entire LPL, and like outside of game 1, most of the games ended up becoming pretty fucked up at points. Like lots of deaths, lots of fighting. That's just kind of what you expect with these types of teams. I think the downside is this should be AL qualifying for regional gauntlet, but because JDG are big frauds, now AL has to beat top esports in order to make it to regional gauntlet, which seems extremely hard to do. For like my money, top esports is the best team in LPL right now, so it's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. JDG, bro, you got my mind going elsewhere already. Like the series today, I'm with you. It's like FPX. Like they're such a goofball team, like especially from last split. It's kind of sad what happened with Jala, who, whatever. But I think, like blaming it all on the like internal issues. I think like eventually FPX, the honeymoon would be over because the thing that Milky Way did like last split, like he had games that looked like once in a lifetime games, but he had like a string of those, which made it seem just simply like incredible in terms of what they get away with. I think that what made them so good was that, like at the time, Life was playing like Rumble support. He was like the first one to bust it out. He was playing Pike. Like they kept it like very floppy and loose. And then at the same time, Care was like playing like the engaged mid laners. He were dropping like Nico, Kindred 1-2, and they just kind of were in tune with the meta at the same time as they were in tune with what Milky Way wanted to play. But then when it like went over to playing like the AP jungles, Milky Way has looked way worse than usual. And at the same time, Care, I think they had like a fine series against TT, but in the end, that's TT, so it's nothing to get excited about. Today, plain and simple, the mid jungle of FPX got like, for the lack of a better term, fisted.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely exciting there to that explosive end from behind. It was nice step up and engage there by Hope and Kyle to close it off on the Callista. But either way, like you said, JDG dropping and with NIP continuing on and still just being a thorn in the side. It looked like there was a clear top 6 teams in the LPL. Now there's 7, and there's only room for 6 total in terms of championship points and the championship qualifier. The way it works for the LPL, the winner of the LPL summer split will go as the number 1 seed. Then the team with the most championship points will be the 2nd seed. And then the next 4 teams that are left over with championship points will be playing for 2 slots at Worlds. And everyone thought the NIP wouldn't be a problem with the way that they've been playing. Yes, they garnered a lot of points last split, but you wouldn't worry about it because this split's weighted more. AL took care of business. That's not the case. Now Anyone's Legends has to beat top esports, which would be, again, kind of just a tough task. We'll get to all of that in just a little bit, and we'll start blaming JDG and a bunch of other teams in a second. But just wanted to touch on that one series for you real quick because that's what we had just seen here live today. I guess tonight for me on the 13th. You guys are still a little bit earlier on your time frame. But before we dive on into the biggest frauds in the game, we need to tell you about one of our friends and partners that is not a fraud and has been part of our lives since they've joined on here in LFN, and that's, of course, AG1. Look at that. I told you I brought it to Korea. Bam. Here it is. I've got my AG1 with me right here. I've been using it to continue to improve my health as a nutritional supplement, and it helps me with my gut health. Again, with the food changes that I've been having to go through here in Korea, AG1 has been a constant and helping me go through that. It's backed by multiple research studies and trusted by experts and medical professionals. They did the research, so we didn't have to, as AG1 is constantly putting their formula to the test and trusted by experts and medical professionals backed by multiple research studies. Its in-house team of doctors, scientists, and researchers work with third-party experts on studies that validate the benefits of AG1, giving you one less thing to do, which includes 97%. This is one of the conclusions that they reached. 97% in a research study of people in a research study said they felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. 91% noticed they needed less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1, and it contains ingredients that support sustained energy so you can be the best version of yourself each and every day. But that's not the best part. Again, knowing how good this benefit is, usually like, tastes like crap, tastes real green, only like kale. Not the case here, as Dom always alludes to. You get a little bit of the sweetness on there, and it just becomes a natural part of your day.
Definitely. I mean, it's something that's refreshing, and it's something I look forward to. I like the whole product and everything. Like the bottle, just for me, I'm somebody, I just drink it with cold water, and it just completely like changes the game. You know, like you can take it as like a pure supplement, but you can also make it enjoyable. And the way you got to do that, bro, like get the stir, get some cold water, blend it together. It'll be an enjoyable drink. You know, it's refreshing, pretty sweet. It's got like hints of vanilla in there as well. It's a nice product.
Yeah. And unlike other products, when it came to these research studies, which only study ingredients in isolation, they don't mix it together. AG1 tests their formula as a whole. So all these things have been tested as, again, one big formula, the formula that you are getting. So if you want to get your hands on something and improve your whole body health, AG1 is the way to go, which is why we're excited to have them as a partner, as you guys know and love. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/LFN. drinkag1.com/LFNlegends. That's drinkag1.com/LFNlegends. Check it on out. Help out the show and get your health prioritized here with AG1. Thank you so much to our friends over at AG1. Now it's time. I'm doing it out of order, guys, just because it's the thing that we want to talk about the most. Fraud alert. Let's get to it. A couple teams just across the world not doing what they're supposed to be doing, making things difficult for everyone else. That's right. We're talking about JDG. We're talking about our favorite social media management entity, G2, and friend of Monty and the show, and I guess me too. I was wearing the shirt earlier. FlyQuest. We need to talk about these teams because they're dropping the ball, and they just shouldn't be doing that. Who's the most fraudulent out of these three squads at this moment? Let's find out together in this week's Fraud Alert. Okay, we touched on JDG. Let's finish up here on JDG. Why is this loss so damn bad for them, and what do you rate it? Like, do we have to wait for how anyone's Legends plays against top esports before we're able to fully rate it, or are you like down with rating it right now here, Dom?
Oh, it's a horrible loss. It's a terrible loss, especially when you consider that like NIP didn't play super well yesterday. It wasn't like NIP played on a much improved level and JDG just like wasn't able to show up on the day. I think the JDG drafts have been bad. They've been pretty fraudulent with the meta pretty much the entire split. Like when it comes to the fact that they have never really found an AD mid that works for Yagao, like Lucian to some degree, but then Lucian starts getting banned. Like his Corki wasn't good. He had this obsession with PTA Tristana the entire split. Everyone else was going fleet. He would go PTA. He would lose every lane like to Corki by like 10, 15 CS because he just wasn't able to match the sustain because he had no fleet. It just feels like the meta is horrible for them, and their play is just pretty desynced. I think Kanavi had especially bad series yesterday. Like he had been somebody who'd been consistently good. The bot lane is randomly dying. Like Ruler and Missing, their whole thing was that they could play pretty much any lane versus anyone in the world, and they would just be able to get through the lane with like a CS lead, or even they would be able to just make their way through pretty much any lane. Like they were known for Jinx Rakan and things like this, and it's like other teams would be like, how do you lane Jinx Rakan? You know, if you pick Jinx Rakan and the other team is going, you know, whatever people were playing at the time, Lucian Nami, like Aphelios plus Lulu, whatever, like how can you actually win these lanes? But they would always somehow do it. Now they're playing these lanes that should be stronger and they just straight up lose. So I think the team is pretty fraudulent. I think the coach is extra fraudulent. The Sheer benching was something that I fucking hated to see. Like, I don't understand how Sheer ended up getting benched on this team. There's like 3 other players I would bench on the team before Sheer. I would literally rather bench anyone on the team besides for maybe Kanavi, like over Sheer. Like Sheer was so fucking consistently good, and he helped JDG play JDG style. I mean, he was essentially 369 for this team. It's like they just reincarnated 369 in like a baby Chinese players form, and then now they had him, and he was just able to, you know, do everything that the team needed. He was able to weak side, and he could play things like TF, like, you know, like he could play everything. It just felt like this player was so important to their success, and then they just decided to bench him for Flandre, who I'm pretty much done with watching. Like, he's not bad. He was okay in this series, but he's nothing special. He definitely doesn't have the same trajectory that Sheer is going to have, at least from this point. So I don't really understand it. I just think that they probably thought that they would beat NIP either way, that this would be a good way to introduce him, but it was bad, man. It was a really bad series. Their drafts were also weird. Like, you gave Lan Zyra 5 games in a row. Like, you got to start fucking banning the Zyra at some point. They took away Nidalee a couple times just because Lan is known as a really good Nidalee player, so they're like denying Nidalee, but it doesn't make sense in their team comp. They're playing Jace, Nidalee, Corki, like these really hard to execute comps when they're not playing well. I mean, it was super fraudulent. Like, that is a horrible performance from JDG.
I was kind of happy to see them go. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but there was this post that JDG did where they wanted co-streamers, right? And basically I had a conversation with them, and they wanted people to work for free for them, you know? And ever since then, I was like, yo, I'm praying for their downfall. They like signed 16 co-streamers, and I was like, you might get a jersey that is signed if you keep posting on our socials and reposting our tweets and also using our logo on the stream. And I was like, nah, that's not for me. See you. no reply. And ever since, I was just praying. And Warhorse as well, bro. I have history with him. This guy was so rude to me back in 2016 when I walked into the room. He was very rude to me. So I'm happy, even though he won the World Championship with FPX, I'm happy to see him fall.
No. Fill us in on that. For friends that don't know, Warhorse, longtime head coach of Flash Wolves. So OG
Exactly,
Flash Wolves, carrying the LMS region, whatever they were called at that time. I think it was LMS region at that time. PCS LMS. Moved to FPX, had a stint with Top Esports, and then back to FPX, and now over here with JDG. What happened? How is he rude to you? You're not rude to anyone.
Like, we were out at Worlds. Basically, they put the rooms like next to each other, like hotel rooms with like PC setups. We are screaming Flash Wolves. I walk over. I say, guys, are you ready? This was like after like 30, 40 minutes of reviewing, you know? And I say, I knock on the door. It's like, we need to, I point at my time because obviously they don't speak English, nothing. And he just looks at me, right? He just looks at me. And then like he doesn't react and they continue reviewing. And I'm like, please, we need to eat. We are hungry. I point at my stomach, I do sign language, He for sure understood me. He for sure understood me. And then I walk out, I come back 40 minutes in, 40 minutes, come back. I say, we need to play or finish. And he just closes the door. He just closes the door. And ever since, I've been praying for his downfall, man. But
nice. And then he won Worlds.
And then he won Worlds. Yeah.
Then he won Worlds. Fuck. to add something serious to the conversation, bro. Just to really, like, Photic, for me, together with Xiaoye, has been the worst AD carry by far in LPL. By far. It's not even close.
In the Ascend group, for sure.
And Mr. Photic looked better than Ruler did in this damn series. Like Ruler had some moments where he popped off, but the way Ruler has been playing in summer, he's been getting caught consistently on mid waves, losing sums, dying, throwing game positions that are winning. It's been very, very hard to watch Ruler. And I think that missing, for some reason, Spring Split, he got away, he got wins because he kept picking Rakan. Off Rakan, he looked like ass. But this entire split, they never picked Rakan. Even in that last game, if your plan is to slam Xayah, why don't you just pick Rakan? Like, throw something at the wall. Because there were moments where they picked Xayah Rakan, you're like, ooh, it's these two on Xayah Rakan. They're going to win because this is just what they have in the back pocket. But this just never came through, which is very, very strange. I think that Missing has had a tremendous downfall. Yagao, I think that in terms of this carry meta, like he had like strange builds. Like he was building like Navori quick blade on Lucian when nobody else did, and got like carried through games. It's like the only hope really for this team was when like Kanavi was popping off, because I do think in spring, if it wasn't for how good Milky Way played in spring, I do think that like Kanavi's split would be highlighted as something simply incredible, because he was dragging his team left and right, and he was really, really pulling them over the finish line. And I agree with the notion, this whole idea of like Flandre and Sheer swapping each other out, and then in the deciding game, Flandre slams a Jace to make this draft completely incohesive. I get that Flandre played Jace fucking ages ago, years ago, but to do it in this game, in the form that he is in, I think it was just too much risk, and JDG just never sharpened anything. And over time, I don't know, I can imagine from Ruler's point of view that all the effort of last year ended in such a shitty crescendo where they lost against T1, and then you need to do that grind again to now, of course, just have weaker teammates and have the mountain look so just insurmountable. Like you can't climb it at all because you look over to the left and you look over to the right and you see everything slowly draining. So it's like on Ruler's end, I give him kind of the rookie pass. It's like if things around you are falling apart, it does become more and more draining, because I do remember when they lost in spring, he looked so completely destroyed, So my end, JDG, Giga frauds, anything that was good about them has also fallen apart. Kanavi out of form, Ruler out of form. I don't think that this is a team that should actually like go to the World Championship, in the context of everything. If anyone's legend doesn't make it through, I do understand that anyone's legend lost against them, but that was because Sheer played so much better than Ale in that series. That's what's so weird, in the end. Like Sheer 1v9 those games, outplayed the shit out of Ale. Ale kind of made it easy with how he entered sometimes, but still, it's like that was a big test for Sheer and he passed, and for some reason Flandre is playing. So there's a lot of things about JDG that just simply drives you insane when you're watching them, and then contextualizing with losing against NIP with their bot lane. Sure, Leon is definitely 1 million times better than Aki, but still, still that should have been a win for JDG for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because remember at the beginning of the split, we had this obviously jokingly, we had this notion of like, oh man, some of these Korean players are playing bad on purpose to come back to LCK because you're seeing some slots at the LCK feel like, hey, this guy's not playing very well. That was like Scout, Tarzan, and I guess Ruler there at the end where it was just like, man, maybe they're ones that want to come home because you had grinders that were working their ass off, like Kanavi, like Rookie. Rookie was when NIP were finding success in this split, it was off of the back of Rookie or having a pop off moment. You had a couple of those guys there, and now I think I love the way that you contextualized the split and the year for Ruler, and maybe just running out of a little bit of steam. Definitely not effort, but just running out of steam here with the parts that he had.
When I'm looking at Ruler right now, like I see like Ruler, I was checking his solo queue. I'm like, this guy, like he just looks imprecise. Like you look at his gameplay and it's like it just doesn't look like Ruler gameplay. Like there was a cleanliness to Ruler's movement before that just made him look so insane in previous years. I looked at his account and yeah, I mean he's GM right now in Korean solo queue, and I just feel like that is just not a good look when you're like making these mistakes and then you look at the solo queue. It's like, yeah, I mean he looks like he's a worse player than he was last year. And he's performing worse in solo queue. He's performing worse in competitive. And that's something that normally I look to when like players are struggling. I feel like when it comes to like Korean solo queue, we've talked about it here. A lot of people, they grind their way out of problems. And that is like kind of like the first step to trying to improve your play is like, okay, let me just get super high rated. And yeah, I mean, I feel like there's players like Shun, for example. He was in like GM himself where Wei was, top 10, and I feel like that was a huge reason why he ended up not getting the spot. Like Wei was performing really well in solo queue and he looked better individually. Shun was struggling in the matches, put Shun in or put Wei in over Shun, and then Wei was taking over. And I think that that's something that's hard for me to see from Ruler is like I just expect more. And I personally, I don't really give him like the rookie pass. It's like I feel like he's had such good teammates throughout his career, and he's not getting rookie level teams. Like this is still a team where if he plays super well, they win the series. Like if he plays pretty well, they win the series. Like Photic just looked better than him. Like Photic is just winning lane against him and stuff. And like maybe it's not completely his fault or whatever, but I would say that in general, like he just should be at least like a top 580 carry in this region at worst, and it's just not there right now for him.
All right. Well, JDG, their fate again hangs on the result of anyone's Legends versus top esports, which should sit favorably for them. But the fact that a team of this caliber has to wait is not good. Doesn't bode well for them. So we'll see what happens with them. And again, pretty cool story for anyone's Legends to have the opportunity to win their way into at least the world, I guess into Worlds, but also into the regional qualifiers. Plus, know that if they lose here in playoffs, they'll have the cushion, that's like a really nice thing to ease your mind and allow you to play a little bit more freely with your drafts and whatnot. All right, we'll come back and get a rating at the very end. So let's move to our next subject here, which the fans will love. And I expect this to be the #1 post and comment on YouTube. What the fuck happened with G2, man? They got Merwind? It can't just be explained as they got Merwind to the top side. How did you see this one, Yamato? Again, very creative drafts, and watching that series, it was fun for me because in LCK, other than I think Nongshim, and I'll talk about it later, Nongshim had a very creative draft. Drafts are pretty standard, but things were pretty unique here against G2, and there were a couple series there was one series that they should have lost that they won. There's one series that they won that they should have lost. But what did you make of it?
I just find it, I'm so puzzled with G2 because I am trying to make sense of how, like, 10 very, very smart people surrounding the game, just historically. It's like, that's a room with Broken Blade, Dylan Falco, Duffman, Rodrigo, Caps, Mickey. Like, these are very, very smart people. And to end up after 2 weeks of preparation, after winning the split a certain way, to end up with this as your preparation, just Ken and Vi every single game, I don't know what happened. I cannot comprehend what happened. Because we've been talking about this so many times. Like when I think of Yike, and I think like if I didn't know any game about G2, and I know the meta where it is right now, 14-15, not a lot changed between 14-14 and 14-15. Not a lot changed. If I think about G2, where they would land, I'm like, oh, they can play Ivan. Ivan is looking good. Mickey with engaged support. You can play the Leona. Leona Ivan is a free win. Wow, they need to ban Tristana. They need to ban Ashe. Wow, this is going to look good. Maybe he's just going to play Corki. They have to think, do they have to ban MF, Ashe, Kalista maybe if it becomes strong. And then maybe Caps is going to play his AD champions. He's going to play Tristana, Corki, Lucian. And then suddenly maybe we'll see a Lilia. You know, Lilia, that's something that he played so much. But somehow we end up on this cocktail. We just end up in this cocktail where we're playing Cannon, or Vi. Like Cannon, fine, I get it. You're blind picking, you have to pick your poison to some degree, but usually compositionally it needs to make sense. Sometimes you're picking Cannon to be able to pick an AD jungle, to also pick an AD mid, and then you have flexibility in draft if there's a lot of AP jungle bans. But in terms of how it plays out for G2, in terms of what the prep is, I think almost if they didn't scrim for these 2 weeks and went from playing the finals and then playing against Mad Lions right away, I feel like their preparation would have been better. I don't know what happened in scrims because I can't extrapolate in regards to the other series that we watched that was like the appropriate conclusion, because I'm looking at Fnatic and they're drafting things that, at least in my mind, make sense based on what I'm watching in LPL and the LCK. And it's so weird because looking at G2's whole like summer split and so forth, I remember there were moments like that first game against BDS, they picked like Brand, Leona, Corki. I was like, okay, they're in tune, they're back. And then the next game, they're picking fucking Caitlyn, Braum, and just full AD, triple AD, same as they did in EWC. I just don't know what is going on in their prep work because there is something that we are missing. I don't know if it's because Yike is heavily underperforming, because that is also showing in the games. But in terms of having no confidence to lock what they should be locking, I don't know what's missing there. There's some piece of information that is just gone. And I think that looking at their gameplay, the bot lane, when they are pushing, it looks easier. But in terms of just precision and the confidence they play with when they make decisions, it just looks too damn floppy to me. And at this point in time, I think they can no longer rely on like just finishing games to finish games, because right now they don't look strong at all. I've had this idea of G2 for so long that they will bounce back and they will figure it out. But now, even their gameplay, there is very little to kind of be excited about, because even at this point, Caps is also underperforming in regards to where we expect them to be, because Caps has managed to drag them over the line, and they peaked at MSI, but it's just been downhill ever since. And I think it just starts in the headspace there are in regards to the prep, because I don't know what's holding them back from playing what's actually good.
Well, just real quick, Dom, I feel like another play that's been consistent, though, is Hans. Like, Hans has felt okay. Like, it doesn't, you know, when he has the ball in his court, he's able to pull out the Draven. That's been good. Do you feel like there hasn't been any consistent players here, Dom? And then what did you make of G2 so far?
I think Hans has been fine. It's just like, I think Hans is always kind of like fine for this team. Like when they win, he's overrated. Probably right now he's getting slightly underrated. I think his games are extremely hard to play. He's getting inted consistently by everyone. When I watch G2 play, it's like every week I watch them, I lose respect. It's like if I just didn't watch them and I just watched them like let's say I just didn't watch them since MSI, I didn't watch any of this and I just like was like, oh well, okay, they got first anyway, like and I didn't watch the games. And then I saw, oh, they lost to Mad Lions, but I didn't watch the series. And let's say they end up still making top 3, or they even win this championship, season finals, whatever. I'd be like, okay, you know what? No, they can show something at Worlds. But I just feel like this team has wasted so much time. I feel like this team has wasted an insane amount of time. And I mean, with a lot of stuff Yamato said, I mean, Lilia is literally being first picked or banned. Like the progression of the series we just watched between FPX and AL is that, you know, Lilia is played by both junglers. It gets picked 2-3 on blue side in the first game. Then in the second game, it gets 1-2'd. So it's like it's raising in prio. Third game, first picked. Fourth game, banned. You know, like 1-2-3. It's, you see the progression of it literally go up every single time. And then we have Yike, who is the best Lilia player, just not pick it ever. Like there's never a good Lilia game. I don't understand how their prio on champions changed so much between 14-13, I guess, is what they played on, and then 14-15. Or was it 14-14? Maybe they played 14-14. But like the point is, how did they go from playing 80 mids every game and Caps being like so feared on 80 mids to just not playing any 80 mids? Like I just don't understand how that actually like became a thing. Or like the 80 mids just had so much less prio. Like Caps Tristana was literally unplayable for anyone in the region. He could buffer anything, right? Like you couldn't play Vi into Tristana, you couldn't play anything. He would just 1v9 if he got it. He carried the season finals being like 5k, 10k down as a team, just going off on Corki consistently over and over again. But it's just every week with G2, it's just, I don't know what they're getting better at. Like, what if I'm trying to look at MSI until now, and you're like, what area of the game has G2 improved on? I would say almost nothing. It feels like they've actually gotten worse. So it's really hard to watch them because I don't actually have hope for any of the other teams in Europe. Like, even if BDS ends up making it, or let's say BDS beats G2 and they play against Mad Lions, I don't have hope for BDS, really. I don't have hope for Fnatic. Fnatic has shown that their macro still has not like improved to a good enough level where they're going to be able to take wins internationally. So the only hope I actually have is that G2 ends up playing well. Like Mad Lions, like they've won one best of 5 in like 7 months or something. Like they actually like it's so fraudulent that they're actually even here in the first place in the season finals. It's only because the early splits are still way too overvalued in LEC. Like I would have much rather had K Corp be in this season finals. Like a team that got fourth didn't make season finals in the most recent split over a team that got 8th in this last summer season. I think that's crazy. Just generally, like if you look at other regions, like you look at LPL, what I always say, I always say this because this shows you how extreme it can be. If you get 4th place in spring and 7th place in summer, you have less points than a team that goes 17th in spring and 6th place in summer. So if you get outplaced by 1 spot in summer, it disregards the 4th place and the 7th place. Like that's how cutthroat it is in the LPL. Like JDG who got 3rd place in spring is on the verge of not making it with 60 points over teams that are going like 5th, 6th, for example. The next elimination will be like 5th, 6th, right? Or the 3rd, 4th technically, or 5th, 6th actually, 5th, 6th, yeah. So it is like you get fucked if you play poorly in summer in LPL, and in LEC because they do the triple format. It's like sure there are different splits and all the splits are the same duration, but winter and spring are like the same period. It's very hard to make big roster changes between winter and spring because other leagues don't have that same format. So it's not like oh we could bring in Thanatos or something like in between. Like you're looking at that in between spring and summer because of the format. So I feel like this is like another issue with LEC, but overall G2, like back to the point, G2 they're playing so fraudulently. It's like I don't even want to call them frauds because I don't even want to acknowledge how bad they're playing and like that they're like existing like this. I just want to like turn my brain off and be like, all right, they already are qualified for Worlds. Maybe they get like better and they play better at Worlds regardless of how they do in the season finals.
Just to add 2 things.
Yeah.
To extra is it's like Mad Lions are banning 3 ADs every game, so everything is open. Yep. Everything is open. Otherwise, like as Dom mentioned, Tristana permaban. It's like people banned like Tristana, like Rumble maybe, and then like Ashe. Those were like the go-to bans. And then people like went back and forth on the Rumble, depending if they thought BB could play it or not. But like the Ivan combos with Leona were open, Tristana, Corki is just such a fall from grace. And then I want to reference back the second thing is just I spoke to Mickey before MSI and he said our practice is very bad in the LEC. So because I was not hopeful at all for MSI in terms of what the level was in the LEC in spring. And he said, as long as we get to practice against the better teams, we will ramp up. But now the World Championship is in Europe. G2 is not going to boot camp. And I imagine that for sure, probably the North American teams will fly over to Korea. Like I can imagine a team like Team Liquid going over to Korea before and then flying over with the rest of the teams. I don't know what the logistics will be, but this is a World Championship that is going to happen in Europe. Maybe you're going to get like 5 days of scrims because the LPL teams and the Korean teams have no incentive to fly in early. Maybe you get to play against the play-in team that is there. But with all being said, it's like your practice is going to be super, super rough. And now you're going to basically marinate in the same soup you've been in for such a long time. So there's not going to be kind of a change up of perspective. And that's the main question for me. It's like, I think this World Championship is going to just be doom for the LEC and G2 specifically with everything that we've seen so far. Because I don't know how you dig yourself out of, like, even in a world where G2 wins, like they miraculously win. It's like, in terms of what the level has been, like, I need to be shown incredible games. And that's just, I can't imagine that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't understand, like, one, how Yike is also playing so poorly. I just feel like Yike is just, he's like inting so many games. Like, and before, you know, G2 would win when Caps would play well, even if everyone else played poorly. But now Caps is also like playing poorly. Maybe he's just protesting. Maybe he just wants his team to suffer a bit, like, and realize that he won't be able to carry every single game when they go internationally. Obviously, that's a joke because people are too ill to understand sarcasm.
You needed to clarify that one. There we go.
Yeah, I don't actually think he's inting on purpose. Thank you. But yeah, the split from Yike, I think, has been so terrible. I mean, he was playing Sejuani Maokai now, but it's like, it's weird because it's like his read on the meta has changed multiple times, but it's like never ended up correct for some reason. Like, the only time is when he was trying to play Brandon Zyra, and he was pretty bad at those champs. Like, it felt like he was bad at those champs, but at least it like kind of made sense. But now it's like we're back to just picking like Vi every game. I don't know, like Vi is considered super OP. We're not even on like the massive Vi buff patch or like the Vi buff patch that's coming. So I don't understand it at all. And yeah, I think that in general, it's like Mad Lions played better than they had been playing before, but they had been playing terribly before. And they didn't play at some ridiculously high level where it's like G2 should have lost. Like, G2 was in winning positions and they were losing from winning positions just by not even playing the game the way that they have for months. Like, for example, in game 5, Italy is trying to face check into the line brush. I talk about it so many times in LEC and LCS that people just fight in the middle of mid lane. They have full position set up on the Drake. They can just keep on clearing waves. They can use their control and they can just force Mad Lions to take a really bad situation. Mad Lions has a terrible team comp at that point in the game. It's an Italy top team comp who's going towards the Thornmail, and he's fucking behind at this point in the game. And G2 botches the whole thing with Caps like flashing under the mid tier 1, then Rail flashes under the mid tier 1. It's like, nice. I mean, they still ended up getting that Drake, but it's like, why are we even making these plays? Like, this is stuff that I expect G2 to be better at. Obviously, like, you can't be too structured to the point where you are not capitalizing on opportunities because you're so set on never fighting in the middle of mid lane. Like, sometimes it is good to just like murder them if they do some troll shit. But like, we have to not be flashing under the mid tier 1 to trade 1 for 1. I mean, even in the best possible scenario, right? Caps 100% dies when he flashes under the turret. Best possible scenario is he trades 1 for 1 with the Nidalee. It's like, that's not good. Like, that is not a winning thing at this point in the game. Like, I just want to see the team play better in some phase, because even their capitalization on the Fnatic throws, it's just like Noah randomly getting caught. Like, that's how they won those games in finals. I actually don't see any of the things that G2 is doing better in games. I actually have no idea what they do better now.
So a couple things, and again, this is so unique to G2 this year's Worlds. Would a team ever, and I guess you would have a better insight on this, Yamato, just not boot camp in Europe from Europe? Would they spend the money to go fly to Korea to do it? Because I think you're right. Like, Cloud9 is connected here to Korea. We know Team Liquid is connected here to Korea. We know that Papa Smithy and FlyQuest are connected here to Korea. We know that NRG have the connections from last year from Korea. Like, it doesn't seem like they would go there to go scrim Europe, given the temperament of the league. Would a team ever do that? Or is it just because, hey, it's in Europe, we got to save money? I know it's like an organizational thing.
Well, I think one difficulty in the past has always been the proximity of the LEC finals to everything else. I think this is the first year, like we had Asian Games last year, so the proximity to Worlds was further. But the last time I went to Worlds, it was in North America, but we were at the finals, we lost third place, so we had to do play-ins, and we would literally play the next week. Like, we had very, very little time window, and that's been an issue for the LEC for long, where the scheduling is very, very late for some reason. We had like random 3-week breaks and random break here, and that has just like impacted in terms of how much flexibility you have just purely logistically. I think for G2, after speaking to Roma, I know that they are kind of evaluating what makes sense in terms of how they manage their jet lag and in terms of flying over. I understand that like these aspects can be very nightmarish, and the other teams will have to deal with that as they fly from Korea or China to, of course, Europe. But considering the length of the tournament and the standard that you want to be at, I can see both sides of the argument, right? I just think that when you are from the region where your practice maybe isn't as good, you are going to be at a disadvantage. But I think currently, even looking with G2Z, it's like if they scrim against Fnatic, I'm sure there's a lot of things they can improve on, because at this current level, like maybe flying over to Korea to just get smacked around because that's what the level they're at, maybe they're not going to manage to improve anything. So in my mind, I think it's just a question of, like, I remember 2016, we had like a solid month before we had Worlds in North America. We flew over to Korea with Splice, we boot camped there, and then we flew over to North America, and that's just was the best course of action, because we scrimmed the LMS teams, we scrimmed the Chinese teams, the Korean teams, and that was a very important experience for us. And back then, it's like the money was flowing a little bit easier, and Riot was a little bit more flexible in terms of like booking your flights to make sure that you're at the event. So they were kind of helping out. And then there was the Connect, Mr. Joylack, who just had to connect with the hotels, and he would just hook you up with the PCs, and you would just like eat the dirty fried chicken, to sustain yourselves through the days. So it was simpler times, but sometimes simple is just the way to go. I think the jet lag thing can be managed. G2 showed it at MSI that they did manage the jet lag well, and they managed to make sure that nobody got sick and so forth. So I think it's something that you can work around. So in my mind, just experiencing, getting smacked around. There's another example of G2 2019. It's like they were at Worlds, it was in Europe, and then Daman flew over, and then they got such a shock in scrims that maybe in a world where they boot camp, maybe things would have looked different. But it's hard to say in hindsight, because maybe the jet lag and maybe they would interact with that differently. But when the teams came over, they got smacked in scrims so damn hard, and they felt like, damn, we just practiced against bums for the last 2.5 weeks,
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's very difficult.
So the joy luck call out, that's a good one. Dom, you touched on it at the end of your stream of today's AL versus FPX match. LPL finishes very quick, and then in terms of the regular season, it's done in the next playoffs. It's done in the next 3 weeks, and then the next day they start the regional finals gauntlet for the last 2 slots. So they wrap up their action September 2nd. That is the first league to finish. Then it's the LEC.
I think LEC should wrap up
finish the
September
first.
1st. Yeah.
Right. Sorry. So their playoffs and finals will wrap first, but then to be done and know what teams are going, it'll be LEC first, then it's LPL, then it's the LCS like 5 days afterwards. That's when their finals will be done. And then it's the LCK a week afterwards. So LCK finishes last. And
that's crazy.
And then
the
Worlds.
First time is like this for LEC. It's the first time. Sorry, dGon. Go ahead.
No worries. It's the first time for the LEC to have that much time. And then Worlds starts the 25th. So if you are going to Korea, theoretically you're going while the teams are still in playoffs and finals or regional finals, and you'll get probably about 2 weeks of scrims there if you aren't a play-ins team. So if you're not a play-ins team, you can stay in Korea a little bit longer, and honestly probably watch the first round of play-ins from Korea, scrimming other Korean teams, since most of them won't be going in play-ins, and if there are a bunch of teams there. It's a lot of unique back-end GM/CEO dealing to be like, hey, Arnold, hey, Joe Marsh, hey, I don't know who our third or fourth team would be from Korea, but like you reach out to them and try to make those logistics work out and see if they're interested in being scrim partners. If so, all of a sudden you try to make partnerships and like, hey, well, you have extra scrim space for us. Can we partner this way? Or can you help us get settled in somewhere? That's like a really unique thing that, as Yamato has said, European teams have not done in the past. But generally, G2 hasn't needed to. But given the way that they just played against Mad Lions, it looks weird, especially because that's a thing that maybe the players have said, because it was kind of the same thing over at EWC. Off camera, I was like, hey, how are you guys doing after this loss or whatever? They're like, it's fine, but generally we're our worst enemies, which I think kind of corroborates the story that you're saying. It's quality scrim practice is hard. It's hard for us to get a good read on things. And because of that, you get a little loose in scrims and then you get worse quality. You can see how that is a thing. We're not saying that is 100% what it is, but it feels like it's leading that way. Just a cool little angle that we've never really talked about here. Yamato?
Just to add as well, I'm not saying I have the solution for G2, because it's a nightmare. The issue is just that Worlds is in Europe. It's like flying over to Korea comes with issues. Staying in LEC, staying in Europe also comes with issues. When the events are in Korea and China, it becomes easier, I think, when you are in a region that is just simply weaker. And I don't have the arrogance and the ego to say G2 should fly over there after this. No. I think there's too many variables at play.
Well, I mean, the other option is to try and not lure the teams over early, but just say, hey, Europe's great. Weather in Berlin's great. People are great in Berlin. Come through early.
The food.
Bro, Berlin is a shithole. I will save you all the time. I was just there. If you're going to Europe, there's so many good cities in Europe. Berlin is just not one of them, though. Like, Berlin is like a shitty version of New York. That's how it feels.
Well, it's crazy that LEC ended up in Berlin, because the internet's shit, it's expensive. The airport was giga bad for the longest time. It was like one of those airports where that like everything is made out of plastic and you just know things are gonna fall off. There's like two counters where they like security, and you just know you're gonna wait here for 2 hours and just melt because there's no AC. It's like, I don't know how they ended up choosing Berlin. I really have no clue. It's a strange location.
Yeah, especially at the time before, back in the day, this is the last like old man segment I'm gonna do. Back in the day, EU LCS was ran by ESL. ESL's headquarters was in Cologne, Germany, not Berlin. And then Riot was like, okay, thank you. We're not going to renew the contract. We're going to do it ourselves. And we're moving to Berlin. I mean, they could have kept giving him the contract. They could have found a spot in Cologne. I don't know if Cologne's a better city, but it's not Berlin. We've only heard the bad things about it. And not bad, but just not as great things of Berlin. So
it's a bad city. It's a bad city. I'll say. For like the tier that it's supposed to be like a S, like if you consider like, if you compare that to other tier 1 cities, like that's the capital of Germany, man. Like it is just that's not it. Trust me.
There's definitely better cities in Germany than Berlin, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. It's actually my least favorite city I've been to in Germany. I liked Munich. I know what does Gillies always say? How do you pronounce it? Minish.
Minish.
Like that.
Munich.
Yeah, he always says it like that.
München.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
That's Munich.
Yeah. So Munich is nice. I really like Munich. I liked when I was in Hanover. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's good cities in Germany. Just Berlin kind of just sucks. I mean, I feel like also Berlin is it suffers from the fact that it's like too international almost in a way where like it doesn't feel like you're really like in anything specific as a city. Like it doesn't have any of that like for example, when I went to Munich, bro, like I just saw like a bunch of people just eating like sausages and drinking beer, and it just felt like very German to me. I was like, okay, like this is a German city, but like Berlin doesn't feel like the other cities I've been to in Germany. At least it just feels like a shitty version of New York.
Dortmund, Leverkusen. I'm just naming all the soccer teams. Mainz, Ingolstadt. Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, and then again, we'll get back to G2 and give them their rating at the very end. But that was a big one there, and also a unique little wrinkle, given the fact that we know that G2 are going to Worlds. They have already qualified, even if they bomb on out for the content, of course. G2 social media entity, it would only be for the content. They still qualify as the 3rd seed based off of the season points that they had because they've won everything. All right. lastly, let's move on over to FlyQuest, as Monty's not on this show today. But Monty, again, is forcing us to talk somewhat about Cloud9 because he was like, Cloud9 are super fraud. We should have them on fraud alert. We're like, yeah, they're kind of fraud, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see after the test. And then they beat FlyQuest. And so now, I'm sure Monty wants us to be like, well, if Cloud9 are frauds, that makes FlyQuest super fraudulent because they're supposed to be the best team or whatever. Anyways, FlyQuest, they dropped the match to Cloud9. It was a lot of hands checking. It was very fun. A little bit of smack talking between the teams as well. What did you make of that series here and of Cloud9 and FlyQuest? And what does that say about FlyQuest moving into the playoffs, still knowing that NA is kind of a 3-team region and they should be safe for Worlds here, Dom?
I don't think that FlyQuest is like super fraudulent. I think they are just the 3rd best team. I think there's a big gap between them and the 4th best team, but they're not as good as Cloud9. They just make too many mistakes, I think, throughout the game. I think mainly also they just have more liabilities on their team. I feel like Quad is pretty consistently good. I think Inspired is consistently good. I think Bwipo just does a lot of random shit. It feels like a lot of times when you're watching Bwipo, it's like game will be going fine, and then you'll just have this massive int on like a 1% success rate play for no reason in the game, and then suddenly FlyQuest will like no longer have an advantage topside or something like really bad will happen. Yeah, Busio also has that like that sus feeling about him, whereas I feel like Cloud9 is actually they've gotten better. Like they've elevated their macro to a level where they're no longer going to lose every game by macro. They will lose to TL because their macro is still worse, but at least it's better than it was in spring. So I actually think that Cloud9 is just pretty decent. I think none of these teams are really fraud. I think TL is the best team, Cloud9 2nd best team, FlyQuest 3rd best team. They are what they are, and I feel like that's reasonable for like what the expectations should have been coming into the split, with how TL obviously played at MSI and the experience they got there.
Yamato?
I'm in the same boat. It's like last time we talked about C9, I didn't think they were fraudulent then, and I think nothing has changed. I think my main issue with FlyQuest is that, like working with Bwipo, I think he does best when he knows from his teammates what conditions he needs to offer in order to win. When I worked with Bwipo, the first split when he was playing top lane, he was often like he had a very poor top lane split back then, because as a team it was very unclear to us what are the conditions for us to win. In the previous year when they were playing in Fnatic, it was very easy for him to be like, okay, if Reckless and Hilly are ahead, we win games. And basically he made sure that his conditions were as good as possible. He picked GP, TP'd bot on almost every champ that he could to make sure that he participated in the fight. Like it was the Avenger meta, and he just knew exactly what his identity was and what conditions would be like a successful condition for him to win in. And I think that FlyQuest is a team that has a lot of strong individual players. I think that Masu is very impressive as a talent. I think Busio plays maybe too few champs. I think Inspired is great, and Quad is looking good, and Bwipo can be good too. But I think in a team where you need to it's much better to sharpen a few weapons instead of being so spontaneous and sporadic and assuming that you can play it all because you have too high of an ego. It kind of reminds me of C9 of old, where they were trying to play it all instead of being like, okay, when Berserker's ahead, we win games. What can we do to support that? Instead, we had like carry top some game, carry jungle some game, and it was just all over the place rather than understanding what makes you succeed. You compare it to Team Liquid, this is a team that always has like a very kind of standardized draft. It's like Koki's open, we're gonna pick Koki. We're gonna fill in some slots. Plays his Ivan, he plays his Sejuani, his Maokai, and it's kind of like a tier list, and kind of they keep themselves within the same sphere and they add like additional layers. FlyQuest, when I think of them, it's like when they load into a game, I don't know what their priors are, I don't know what they're gonna succeed on. It's like Whip or Renekton maybe, a Kalista maybe, when they like snowball games because they're good. But I think Bwipo in those circumstances just doesn't, when he doesn't feel like he has a clear goal in terms of what he needs to achieve to win, I think that he tries too hard to figure it out through his champion choice and also through his play. And that's when he looks so damn goofy. It just reminds me of that first initial split when we were lacking an identity. And now I think Jensen. At least Jensen was the guy who locked in. It's like, I'm gonna pick Annie. It was ass, but at least he had a certain purpose in the games that were being played. It's like they ignored mid and hoped that he could connect with his Annie or Talia or whatever. And I think that's what they're lacking. They need to kind of sharpen the spear somehow. I kind of, I see it in a way, they added Mithi, they added Quad. Mithi is my guy, but I feel like Mithi is a person that tries to overcomplicate things when simple is good. Simple is very, very good. And I think that's what FlyQuest needs to be able to compete against C9 and the homies. But I went on a little tangent here, but I don't think FlyQuest is fraudulent.
No. Again, great insight. In the most recent episode of Pros, I think they sit down Whippo and Blabber with General Sniper for some reason right after the match, and they're talking about exactly that. Whippo picking the Nautilus and confusing everyone on Nautilus Rakan. What are we doing here? Like, how do we want it? How do we go about it? And then kind of shoehorning the comp around it, especially because they had Neela as well, where we got to see Neela in the LCK. That was the unique draft I was talking about that Nongshim had that made a ton of sense. It was a Neela Senna. And so for the first time in a very long time, it makes sense. We haven't seen it. You had a fasting Senna that wasn't like starved, I guess. Senna was super jacked, had like 100 whatever souls early on, and had levels, was doing a ton of damage. That made sense. This Neela just kind of walked around and got levels with Rakan, but then the fed Rakan doesn't really do too much. Maybe you can't really put Rakan in the solo lane and have Neela Nautilus together to get the Nautilus ahead. It just felt like this wasn't just a Bwipo thing. It felt like a composition that kind of came together but didn't make a lot of sense. But do you see how like the Neela could have made sense there, Yamato? How would you have played this around, or do you feel like they just played this comp wrong?
Like in my mind, it's like I think Nyla is best in spots where your W is just going to give you value. I think there's certain combos with Nyla where reaching 6 on your support is such a opener for what you can achieve in the game. Like Rakan on 6 usually is like a goal you have in mind, because Rakan is a relatively weak laner. And then it's like you transition into the game to a point where you just don't have an AD, and that's why I'm like kind of, I don't like Nyla too much because of it, because even in that game, it's like the dodge aspect of the champion is very good against Braum passive, against Zeri, right? Against Corki, I guess to some degree, but at the same time not, because he's a spellcaster. And then the question is like, your Rakan being 6 fast, how is it going to enable the game? Because later on, Nyla is very, very inconsistent in what she provides. So I could see the angle against Braum specifically, right, and to enable Rakan, but it will leave you with kind of a problem as the game progresses. I think there are some better spots there are some spots where it can be fine, but I could understand it to some degree in this case, because you have the Lucian mid, if I remember correctly, and I believe Lilia jungle, and then Nautilus top. I could see the sense of it to some degree, to just enable your account to accelerate yourself to 6. So I don't think Nyla was necessarily like the big problem there. Maybe his itemization, because he had like 50% crit, didn't buy shield bow, went like GA into Zika's arm guard. I think that you just kind of fall flat if that's your itemization, because it needs to be explosive when you swing, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, my issue with the Nyla pick is that essentially what they ended up drafting was, 4 to 5 close range champions. I mean, you have Nautilus, Lilia, Lucian, Neela, and Rakan, and you're playing that into like Brand, Ornn, Braum, like these champions that are just so fucking hard to run into. So I feel like it's just so hard to not get one shot by this Brand when you are engaging in this type of game. And I think it was really smart that in this game, Blabber just, he got a, Seeker's arm guard for the final fight. Like he had Zanya's and everything. And at that point, it just felt very hard for FlyQuest to win a fight. I mean, even when they had a pretty good engage towards the end, I mean, there was some luck there with the Ornn hitting a really nice ulti through like the whole team. It ended up hitting Inspired as well. But I think overall, you're just playing a losing game later on. And unless you're really clean at snowballing the game, I think you just lose this game. I think once it gets mid-late, 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. You're on a timer here, especially with the lack of range. But All right. Time to rate them up. So FlyQuest, you can 1 out of 10. Where do we put FlyQuest? We'll go backwards.
I'll give them like a 1 or a 2. I don't think they're that fraudulent.
A non-fraudulent fraud.
I give them a little 4 because I think they need to find some kind of identity and their ego is shining through. That's how I read it from outside. I think they need to find some kind of identity and, find, something that they should play and they consistently play because they will never beat the teams above them, and they will steal wins because they're just better individual players against the rest of the teams.
Yeah, and I think that's the guys that we're looking at it when it comes to these three teams. These are 3 championship aspiration squads. So as much as it has been very clear that Team Liquid is the best team in NA, this team was built to win a championship. Same thing with Cloud9. I think that's probably the angle to take here. G2, what do we rate G2's fraudulency scale? Not out, and we'll make it a Worlds no matter what, but not a good loss here after the Mad Lions loss. Dom?
I mean, for me, it's like the fraudulency is always compared to expectations, right? Like,
Yep.
G2 is supposed to be the best team in the region by far. Like, it shouldn't even be close. The gap between them and Fnatic should be huge. And if they were still winning and they're playing pretty good games, they had bad games every now and then, I wouldn't say that it's fraudulent. But for me, the fraudulency really comes in when you look at like how bad they play even in their wins. Like it almost seems worse their wins than their losses in a way, because it just feels like they never actually win early games. Like the only early game they won was like the Mad Lions game 1. It just feels like they're completely lost on the map. So for what I expect the team to be, this is like a 9 fraudulency for me.
Yamato?
For me, just straight 10. Like for me, just in terms of where their prep work is, it's like I like looking at MSI. I was praising this team in terms of their prep work, in terms of how they read the meta and how teams needed to adjust to them. And there was like kind of a catch-up game that people needed to play against G2 in terms of the prep. And I think that in terms of running back the roster with the ambition of doing so much better, because it's like the whole point was we're going to win the 4 splits convincingly and ramp up throughout the whole year, and then when the World Championship comes, they're going to do better than last year, where they basically like stole victories against Weibo Gaming and Damwon and then lost against NRG to not make it into the next round, right? That is what they need to conquer in order for me to have some kind of faith. But in terms of where the path is, for the longest time, I have made excuses for G2's level, and I have let them get away in my own frame of mind in terms of where they are at. But currently, they are worse than Fnatic. Plain and simple, they are worse. Fnatic might be choking, whatever, maybe they're going to choke again if they face up against each other again. Maybe they won't, but to go into a best of 5 when you're supposed to be the best team in the region and be like, let's hope Noah ease into us again, that can't be a strategy that you have if you're the best team in the region and you have great aspirations and great ambition. This just can't fly, and right now for me it's just 10 out of 10 because it's just extremely disappointing.
Also, with this loss, we lose one of the extra potential Fnatic versus G2 series that we could have seen in the upper bracket finals. Taking that dead horse as far as it would go, but now we'll potentially only seeing each other in the lower bracket finals if G2 are able to make it and somehow Fnatic lose, and not just in the grand finals. Finally, JDG. Again, their fate not sealed, but they didn't do themselves any favors. Dom, what do you rate the fraudulency scale after this latest loss against NRP?
I think it's for me. This is the 10 out of 10 because I feel like it was just like it was fraudulency from everything. It was like fraudulent coaching staff, fraudulent roster decisions, fraudulent draft, fraudulent play. Like you can't lose to this version of NIP. Like this version of NIP once again is just not good. Like they are just not playing that well. And I think that this is like my biggest issue with League just in general in the last like week. It just feels like everyone is having a fucking horrible go of it. I feel like I've almost exclusively watched bad League for the last like week straight. That's how it feels. Like the Genji KT, T1 Nong Shim, like you have the LEC, which I mean Fnatic played fine, but G2 played terrible. You have LCS, you watch like Dig IMT, this was bad. Like almost all the LPL series have been bad. It just feels like everyone is just playing so terribly right now. I don't know why it is. I think it could just be just an off week. I mean, not every week is every like people are going to play well. It could be the end of the season where like Genji has things locked up so they don't really like care that much. Who knows what it ends up being? But right now it seems like really really ugly, and like yeah, JDG was terrible. Like they should be expected to like 3-0 that series, like maybe like 3-1 if NIP can steal one game, but they should be just comprehensively better, and they were just the worst team.
In my mind, when I think of like in terms of where they landed roster-wise, right? It's like they were in a tough spot, right? Because they lost 369 and Knight. But looking at what that off-season where they had Sheer, who was recommended by 369, and the whole vision was that Flandre is going to ease him into that position. And when Sheer goes to school, he will sub in, but eventually Sheer will be like, be the main player for that team. And, Kanavi wanting specifically to play with Yagao because they have history and so forth. That aspect of it all, like I think JDG did everything they could in that offseason in regards to building the roster for Kanavi and Ruler. Obviously, this wasn't a team that was supposed to win the LPL, but knowing how everything kind of got worse and worse and worse over time, and now they are here, losing a best of 5 against a team that I have hated more on than any other team because of Fotik and Aki. Of course, they have Lea now. It's very painful to see, but I guess a part of me is nostalgic about some of the games I saw in spring, but at this moment in time, I didn't give G2 that pass either because they did have games that were decent in the past. So at this point in time, I hope JDG don't make it through. They are fraudulent 10 out of 10.
Boom. Double 10 out of 10s here for Yamato. If he was
I'm a dumb though. Like the League of Legends we've seen in the last 2 weeks, bro, has been mind-boggling. It's like mind-flipping, mind-bending. The league we've been watching the last 2 weeks globally has been just, is this real? Is this real what we are watching? And it is, because I've hit myself many times, but I don't wake up.
Part of me wonders, is it the champions that are in the meta that are like, I don't know, like less practiced, AD mids, less practiced, Corki being changed. So like as much as we've played Corki forever, you don't have the package to get yourself out. I mean, that took a little bit of a while. That's a little cope. AP junglers, that hasn't been in the meta for a while. Normally you were just on Sejuani, Maokai, Gragas, J4. I'm missing one, Vi, kind of duty. So I think it took it took players globally a little bit more to go wide. But yeah, upset week 8. Week upset is how I'm going to remember this LCK, as so many teams were losing. It was exciting for some of them, but some of them were just sad to watch. It was sad to watch. All right, so that closes out the longest fraud alert we've ever done. Sorry we went so long on that one, but it was a good one. I liked it. Next up, we have our go out of order. This is what happens when you go out of order. Okay, there we go. We have our Into the AM glow up, where we are going to be talking about players or teams that have improved the most this summer. So think about your most improved kind of awards or how you would go about voting for that. Think on that while I remind our friends about our partner over at Into the AM, because Into the AM's most loved products are back. No more waiting, because you can finally check out your shopping cart with the bestseller graphic tees, vintage tees, and relaxed button-ups. Make sure to use the code, our discount code, and use the hashtag Into the AM when you're talking about the products and about when you get to wear it. Obviously, I'm wearing the bomber. I've worn the bomber time and time again on the broadcast. That is too. LCK does not know, but I've been repping Into the AM on the broadcast, which has been great. You can get 10% off using our discount code intotheam.com/LFN. So you get yourself 10% off of some of the coolest products there. Dom, you got your tee on right now. Do you got that handy?
I've got this. I've got the Into the AM just hoodie. I have the zip up right now on right now. So Yeah, I mean, I have hoodies, they have pants, they have pretty much every type of clothing that you could want to just like wear casually. So, yep, button ups, whatever you want. I personally am a hoodie guy, so I've got the zip up hoodie. I also have a normal hoodie that's just like not zip up, but decided to rock the zip up hoodie today. So thank you to Into the AM.
Yeah, again, the friends that have been sponsoring us for quite some time with some of the coolest graphic tees that are now back in stock. Abyss Tee, Neon Shores, Impact Tee, Serene Heights. They've got great designs and graphics for you to check on out, and they're back in stock now. One more time for you to get 10% off using our link. It is intotheam.com/LFN. That's intotheam.com/LFN. Thanks to our friends over at Into the AM for supporting and powering Last Free Nation. All right, let's move to it. Most improved teams and players across the global stage. It's our Into the AM glow up. All right, Yamato, let's start over in LEC. Who is the most improved player? Let's just do improved player. If you can't do improved player, then you can do team. But let's start with player in the LEC.
So the first name that came to my mind was just looking at the Mad Lions G2 series. Even though Mirwin made mistakes in that series, I'm just happy that he is committing to what he's good at. And I think that to me, that's a massive glow up. Because looking at Mad Lions in terms of when they did the best, this was how they looked like as well in my mind in winter when they were doing good. I'm happy to see him play the champions that makes him unique. He's kind of like a southpaw that is very awkward to play against, and I really, really thought his Corki performance was insane. After he was like stumbling around, like occasionally playing Varus, but mostly being like Kesante duty and playing things that are fairly standard. I think Mirwin as a player, just that Corki game really, really stood out to me as like a really, really good, strong performance in terms of how he was flowing and playing. And this reminds you of the Mirwin that we saw in winter when he was playing like Yasuo. These like unique picks, but playing them mechanically good, I think is important. Sure, on the Zeri, left and right, he got caught here and there, but in regards to where I placed Mad Lions before, I think Mirwin being able to play these champions is super, super crucial for how Mad Lions beat G2 on the day. So Mirwin is my guy in the LEC.
I like that. And 5 unique champions. Lulu top, rotating the Corki top. We saw, I think Rascal tried to do it. DRX, it was very, very, very not good. It was the first time we've seen Corki top in the LCK in, I think it was like 12 years. It was like 11 or 12 years that we saw it. And Merwin sticking to his guns. I like that one. Who's your most improved here, Dom, for the LEC?
I would say Jackie's personally. Like if we're talking about the entire split, I think Jackie's was already showing signs that he would be good, but I feel like he became a pretty consistent like carry for his team in this split. And I don't think his team is very good. I feel like he's the main player on the squad. He had his own flair too. Like I liked how he was playing mid lane. I mean, obviously not all of his picks worked out, but his Varus mid was one of the better, probably the best one in the LEC. Ezreal, Kaisa, like he had his own ideas. His Zeri was very good when he played it as well. So I think he's the most improved player in this split for me. I think for Merwin, the reason I can't give it to him is like the whole summer split. I just thought he was
It was bad. Yeah.
So when I think about him, the biggest issue is just champion pool. I feel like Merwin's always good if you let him pick his champions in games. But if you are just trying to make him a Renekton, Orin, like whatever, Cassante, weak side guy, he's pretty average to mediocre.
Los Gigantes, Jackie picking this one up. All right. Quick, easy, clean. Let's move on over to the LPL. Who's your most improved player in the LPL, Dom?
Most improved player in the LPL. I think it's like, I think that the one I'm going to say here is Way. If you want to consider how he was playing earlier to like how he started playing on BLG. I mean, this guy is like once again started looking like one of the best players, but I think that's a lot of it has to come with like with the team that he's playing on. You know, like he's the guy who was just on a bad team, and now that he's on a good team, you can see that he still has the potential to be a top tier player. So I think I'll just give it to Way.
No shame in, having the team buff as well. I think that one counts. Yamato?
On my end, I guess, considering how strange like the group stage portion was in terms of the form, and also looking back at the spring split, like the two teams that come to mind that are just doing better, but in the spirit of picking just one, I think LNG and their ramp up, I think, is something that was expected, but at the same time, I think that they made me lose hope many times, and then eventually went over the hump. I think that those are players that you expect to do a lot better, but looking at the level of improvement they made in order to get shit together, and then making top two, which is extremely difficult because top esports is right there and Bilibili is right there, I think was fairly impressive. And I think it came off of the back of first Zika starting to play better, Scout finding himself in the Yone and doing better and better, and also Gala also ramping up. I think that Wei could do better if I think back of his most recent games, but I think this team stands out to me in regards to where they were at the point in time where they were dropping games and playing out positions post 15-minute mark in ways that were extremely shocking. It seems like this team has gotten their shit together, and now they're in the conversation of maybe making dents into, of course, the final, because the conversation was, oh, who is going to be the fourth team that makes it Worlds out of the LPL? And now the conversation is the same, but LNG has just completely pushed out JDG from the picture, partially because of JDG's own self-implosion, but also because LNG is doing a lot better.
Yeah. No Tarzan in here. I guess that has to acknowledge how bad he was at the beginning. The ramp up that was there. Is that too much of a mainstream pick here, Dom?
I mean, it's also he just didn't play in he didn't play in spring, so it's like, I mean, he normally has been very good within regular season LPL. He's been like one of the best junglers in like the last 3-4 years in regular season LPL, if not like the best over that time period. I mean, only other people you'd compare him to, maybe like Tien, Kanavi, like these guys, but yeah, I would say he just played well, but it should be expected from him.
Got it. Okay. Let's move to LCK. We'll save LCS for last because there's reasons. All right. LCK. When you think about LCK, I guess you could start with overall team improvement, and then from there maybe pick a player. I'm not exactly sure how you would do it, but that's generally how I would do it. Who do you have here, Dom, when you think of most improved player in LCK?
I think Lucid is the person that I think has like went from being like pretty like mediocre. I mean, he had some really bad games. There's questions of him being benched in spring, and now he's a consistent performer on Dom 1. Like, you obviously he's not playing perfect or anything, but for like his personal standards, I think he's playing well. He's like one of the good junglers now in LCK, whereas before it didn't even look like he, like those times where people were questioning if he's even LCK level. So to me, I think he's the player that's blown up the most. And then from teams circumstance, I mean, I've been co-signing this team for the last few weeks. I think FearX, they're not going to make playoffs because of like schedule and like game score, and the fact that they were so bad earlier in the split. Most likely, unless they're able to beat T1 again, which is possible because T1 is very bad. They are, you know, certified a terrible team. They lost to Nongshim, got clapped 2-0 brutally. It was hard to watch for most people. For me, it was excellent to watch, but it was yeah, you know, it's a situation where FearX probably is not going to make it, but I feel like they've gotten a lot better. They look like probably like right now they're performing about as like the 5th or 6th best team right now in Korea. Like, I don't think they're as good as the big dogs, but they played a competitive series versus D plus Kia. They should have won that series versus Dom 1. Beat T1 recently. Like they beat Guangdong Freaks. They just look like they're better than the teams that are around them in the standings right now. So I'll definitely give it to them. I mean, if you look in recent weeks, they're on pretty big win streak.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that could be accredited to the support swap that they went with. They put in Duro over Execute. What was his name? Junghoon. Yeah, he name swapped when he came back. Execute had high highs, but low lows. Duro's been a lot better, and you could see the difference.
I think Clear has been playing like way better than he was playing in spring. I think Clear was like, he was pretty miserable in a lot of games in spring, and I feel like he's got into his own form where he's playing like his Cannon, his Gnar. He looks like he has like some laning ability, whereas before he was playing pretty poorly on a lot of like the weak side top laners. It just didn't look like he was LCK level in spring, but now in summer he looks proficient.
Yeah, we flew a stat on the show. He's like ranked first in all of the major stat categories from the second half. So like from round 2, and that was when they made the move to Duro. It's just allowed him to play a lot more aggressive and show off like, hey, in isolation or if I have Raptor around, I can beat anyone. And you know, there's a lot of good top laners in our league. Who do you got here, Yamato?
No, I would follow on the Fox. I think they are the clear choice, Felix, for the team that has improved. Considering like last split, they were not even
Please
like the
BNK.
conversation.
Please call them BNK. Yeah, you have to.
BNK, are they gonna come after us?
So
Yeah, they should come after us.
they were like right before the season started. They were sponsored / bought by Bank of Busan, which is their acronym is BNK. So we didn't have time to change. The league didn't have time to change the acronym in game, I guess, in the global database from Fox. So we're supposed to call them BNK Fear X. We can call them BNK Fear X. But you can't call them Fox or Fear X by themselves. You have to put B&K in there. It's Fenerbahce in 1907.
I was on that team,
1907
bro.
Fenerbahce again.
I was on the team. I have a pass, dude. I was in sandbox.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what
I
it
have
is.
a
That's
pass.
what it
I
is.
can call them whatever the fuck I want.
He's a sandstormer.
All right.
I think this team. I'm just gonna not say the same. This team, in my mind, I think like Clear. I think for sure is doing a lot better in comparison. I think it was kind of like a meme in the past. I think the person that stands out to me is like Closer. The Closer that was promised is finally like playing. You know, I think they like Closer was good in his initial time when he was getting like subbed in for Faker during that T1 stint when they had like just subbing in players in and out. I think he was good then, but after that, I think that he didn't really stand out as a player. And I think that looking at the games, he actually like has presence. Like I think he did super well against Showmaker. I think like that. Like he's just has like he plays like he had the Yone. And then he plays the Koki as well. And I think he's just putting out good CS numbers, farm side, and also like Tether super well in terms of how he team fights. Like Closer is definitely like a standout mid laner to me. And I think that he gives this team like a lot of fucking firepower. Like I think this is a Closer that is very reliable, plays the right champions on the meta. And I think that he is definitely like the standout player to me when it comes to this team. I think if anything else, someone that came in the back of my mind is like looking back at Dauman as well. It's like I think Showmaker is kind of taking like a back foot, like a back step in terms of his presence in the game. And I think that someone that I didn't rate as highly because he was so inconsistent, I would say is just that Kingen is doing a lot better in the recent weeks than before. Like he had, of course, like the Aurora games. I think he played pretty well in those games, and I think that. Kingen is a player that I like isolated like 2 champs, and then he played those, and you hope like it was like the whole Aatrox split of spring where he was just an Aatrox merchant, but even on that champion he could find himself in positions where he threw games. But to even mention him here feels weird because at some point this guy won the World Championship and he has played for such a long time, so he doesn't belong in the conversation of Closer or Lucid even. So it was just a player that crossed my mind because I think he's been good in the recent weeks and has picked up some of the slack that Showmaker dropped. You know.
Yeah. I like that one a lot just because it feels like you could pick anyone on BNK Fear X other than Henna. Sorry, Henna. And they could win this award just because they are the 7th place team that have looked really good once they figured it out. And it's a shame if they don't make it to playoffs to really get to test it, probably at the cost of Kwangdong Freaks. I think that's fine because it feels like they're on the downturn. But I think another interesting way to look at most improved is looking at big players or big name players on big teams and finding who can win it there. I think for Hanwha Life Esports, I think it could be Delight. I think Delight had a pretty slow start and now has really unlocked Viper. And Viper was struggling because of it. And also, Zeka did the same thing what Showmaker's doing. Zeka's 10th in most categories in terms of like gold, damage percentage, like all the percentages because they put everything in Viper. But Zeka's learned how to play that role a lot better. I think on the opposite side, a mid laner that's taken on way more responsibility and done great with it is BDD. And BDD, when you think of the 4 great mid laners in LCK, BDD is usually the one that's most overshadowed. not as many. He's not Chovy with the trophies, Faker. He's not Showmaker. BDD's also in that category. Hit like, I think, what was it, 1,000 games this split, 3,000 kills, and had a rough start. He's gotten a lot better as well. So I would say Delight, BDD, and then anyone from BNK Fearx, I think, super worthy. The King and shout out really good too there, Yamato. All right, let's move on over to the LCS. Most improved player / team, but I think I'm down for player. There's only 8 teams here. How much is everyone improving? Would it be like Cloud9? I don't know. What do you have here, Dom?
I mean, if we're going, when we're comparing it to spring, I would say like Yeon. Like Yeon was like, if you consider regular season, like he was still looking kind of sus. Like you didn't really have confidence in him carrying games. Now he looks like a dominant carry. Even in like the few games that they've lost, he looks like he's still like a force. He's the final boss of TL late game. So I think that he's probably my most improved player. He's the player that my opinion has changed the most positively in the last 6 months, I would say.
I like that mainly because it's well documented how much we didn't like Yeon early on. We weren't sure if he was the guy, and he had a lot of performances showing that he wasn't the guy, but they stuck with it. And now he's shown it off there for sure. Yamato, what do you got?
Yeah, I think just like Team Liquid as a whole is just very impressive in their like improvement trajectory. It's like they are the team that you wish like kind of G2 would be in terms of their trajectory. I think they've had immaculate like improvements all the way through playoffs in spring coming into summer. But I think that on the end of C9 as well, for them to take the risk to risk structure and to bring in Reaper back and to bring in Thanatos and to make such a gut call decision, I think was pretty based. And I think that it is working so far, right? Team Liquid is a very tough team to beat. In terms of where C9 was in the expectation, in regards to how the roster was built in the beginning of the year, I think the expectations were way higher. But I think looking back at spring, it seems to me that the changes are working and they're making sense. And I think that you're beginning to see like mechanical play that you kind of associate someone like Berserker with, someone like Jojo Pune with. And in the first initial best of threes, it's looking good for them if I compare it to, of course, the previous spring. So I think those are the two teams. I'm trying to think of like Dignitas, 100 Thieves, and like NRG. These 3 teams, I feel like they have regressed almost. Like NRG is just, what the fuck is happening there? They're just like the monkey paw is coming back to strike them with the curse that they have. Like Palafox is like playing in a way that I never expected. I just have to assume that the comment that Xiaohu dropped when he's like a genius was sarcastic and maybe it got to his head. And I don't know what's happening with NRG. 100 Thieves looks worse too in my mind. And Dig, I think I had high expectations of Dig. So in terms of improvement there, I think you have to look at either Team Liquid or C9.
Yeah. The two that jump out to me is Masu, kind of like the same type of things that you were saying there for Jan. He's a guy that on this squad can be pretty consistent despite Boostio having good games and bad games, despite Quad being new. Quad slots on in. Masu's like the thing you can hang your hat on. The other player, it's maybe cheesy, but like APA, I think APA's growth as well. We kind of, he's the guy. He's the real deal. And it's just, to have that improvement again and realize now 1 year into his career, he is the real deal feels pretty cool. It feels like Jojo Pune of old when Jojo hit the scene and you're like, is he real? Like, is this really good? The Fortnite kid. And then, yeah, he's good. He talks shit. He backs it up. And, he's going to bring it every time, I think. And he gets macro and is continuing his learning. That's APA. So I think he could receive that with Impact getting MVP. So, all right, boom. There you have it. That is this week's, what segment was this? Oh, that was this week's Into the AM Glow Up. I was like, where were we at there? Again, thanks to our friends over at Into the AM. They, again, restocked their graphic tees. So make sure to head on over to intotheam.com/ LFN to get 10% off of your order on these restocked tees and button-ups. Thanks to our friends over at Into the AM. All right, last one, guys. Long show, but it's been a pretty good one. Let's close it off here with a Galaxy Brain Club. But before we do, got to remind you of the Grundle grinders, the ones that take the Grundle out of things. That's right. You're talking about Mando.
Bad Lions.
Everyone.
Oh,
no,
never mind.
not
Mando.
no, yeah, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, not
Oh.
not Mad Lions. They could use this. Yeah, we know that they could use this.
Okay.
We're talking about our friends over at Mando. Just in case you guys didn't know, what is the most valuable thing in the world? Anyone?
Your Grundle.
No,
Gold.
not your Grunder. Yeah, gold
Never
is
mind.
pretty valuable, but the second most valuable thing is time. And managing and worrying about body odor used to take up a lot of time because I was paranoid about smelling. It's real hot here in Korea. Public transportation is everywhere. I brought it up last time. You have to hold the bar up here, and then I'm just taller than everyone else, and I'm just like, 죄송합니다, 아줌마. I'm very, very sorry, older lady. Just hitting her with it. My bad. The odor was tough, but not anymore. Since I switched to Mando's whole body deodorant, I freed up a lot of time. I'm able to leave later to get myself to the LCK. It only takes an hour and 40 minutes now instead of 2 hours because, I don't have to spend as much time cleaning in different areas. And here's why. Mando does not cover up odor after the fact with heavy fragrances like certain deodorants. It stops BO at the source by blocking bacteria on your skin from eating your sweat, which is the actual cause of BO. What does this mean? Mando is clinically proven to stop odor for up to 72 hours. That's a long time. That's a lot of solo queue. And in the last 2 weeks, that's been a lot of bad League of Legends that you can continue to sit and watch and get a little frustrated with, but don't worry, you're not going to be stinky like the gameplay. So give yourself the precious gift of time and get yourself some Mando whole body deodorant. Again, the fact that we've been able to use the products and they got it shipped here to Korea has been great. I passed it off to Wolf. Monty's used it as well. Dom has his as well. Dom, how has your experience with Mando been?
Oh, it's been nice. I've been using the deodorant. I ran out of my deodorant, and before I bought something new, I'm like, let me try this Mando stuff, and it's been quality. So I've enjoyed it. It's been it's like a very refreshing smell. It's something not offensive. It's not super strong smelling. It's something that just makes you feel clean. So I enjoy my Mando products. I've got like a little shampoo thing as well, body wash. I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah. You're able to use some of these products here. This is the Odor Shield Body Wash, bourbon leather, pow. And then you got the Invisible Cream deodorant for pits, packages, and feet, because stinky feet suck. Right, Yamato?
Yes, sir. I'm telling you as well, now we're going to have the only event for every region, it's going to be the finals in the LEC finals. If you're going to those events and you're hugging pro players, I'm lucky that I'm tall, but when people come with the armpit and you put that over the shoulder of a pro player, it's the most horrible experience. So if you're coming in smelling good with your armpit over the player, you're going to have a nice photo, a smiling photo, and a memory that both of you will enjoy. So please, if you're going to these events, get yourself some Mando as well, yeah?
Yes.
Please, 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 please do. Don't be the stereotypical gamer. Don't show up to an event stinky. It doesn't matter anything else. Show up smelling good. And to do that, you can get Mando Starter Pack, which is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And we got a discount code to help you get hooked up on our favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get 5% off a starter pack with our exclusive code shopmando.com/spike. That is shopmando.com/spike. That equates to over 40% off of your starter pack. Use the code SPIKE at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com/spike and get yourself smelling good despite all the stinky gameplay that's been happening right now before we get to Worlds, and then they buff mages, and then everything's good. Thanks to our friends over at Mando, and thanks to Yamato for the cleanest transition of tonight's ad reads to good. We're waiting, right? I'm not sure if you noticed, every time Dom and I were doing a read today, Yamato leaned closer to the camera. He's like, best mute the ball, I'm ready. And this one, he took that one perfectly. Way to go.
I was ready to drop the AG1 business. I'm over here in Sweden traveling. I wish I had those AG1 packs, because my nutrition is ass. I ate KVC last night, and I wake up feeling like I'm hungover after a 3-day binge. I wish I had some vitamins in my system.
Bro, when you come here, I'll be able to hook you up with the AG1 because they send me like 75 packets plus like the travel packets. They sent, or I think it's 72. They sent me 72 travel packets, and they sent me like the normal supplements at the same time. So I literally get double the amount that you could like consume. So I have packets for days, man. I have travel packets for days.
The AG1 into Buc-ee's, bro. We're gonna take over Texas.
Yeah, we actually should go to Buc-ee's, man. Have you been to Buc-ee's?
AG1 and Buc-ee's? No, I know it's the logo's like a beaver, right, or something like that.
Yeah. It's the best place on earth.
What is Buc-ee's? Isn't that like, because when I think Texas, I think like Whataburger.
It's like the biggest gas station in the world. It's like 76,000 square foot gas station, and it has in the gas station, it has like, not only is there like 100 something pumps for people to get gas, but it has like actually just like good food in a Buc-ee's. Like you have barbecue being made they have like they had award-winning barbecue chef that came and made the recipe, and you have people like cutting brisket in like the Buc-ee's, like fresh made in front of you. There's like a fudge station where you can get like 20 something different types of fudge, like that's made in-house as well. Like this is a huge place. It's like you're going into like a restaurant, but it's a gas station. They have everything in this place.
Ever since our inception in 1982, we've been committed to providing a friendly, clean, and in-stock experience for our customers, regardless of where you may find us. If the store is big or small, near or far, the mission remains the same. Cleanest restrooms in America. That's what it says on its website. That's wild. All right. Well, Buc-ee's, I hope you vlog this experience. Please. That would be so funny. All right. Let's close it off with our Galaxy Brain Club of the week, which are who we think. Okay. I'm going to audible this, guys, just because I feel like this question we can like answer next week, right? Who wins playoffs? No one's playoffs are done next week. So that's one that we can prolong. And I need help with this other thing that I brought up earlier in the chat. I'm not sure if you guys saw it. I was messaged by the commissioner of the LCS, Mr. Mark Zimmerman, because I have a vote for the LCS All-Pro. So because I haven't been watching it as religiously as I normally would have when I was doing my interviews, we could do the LFN Power Spike vote here for LCS All-Pro. So why don't we do that? That'll be our Galaxy Brain Club discussion. It is the LCS All-Pro vote. This is the first time. I always ask these guys, but at the end of the day, I still voted by myself. This time, we're going to come to a group consensus here on who's first, second, and third in each one. So let's do it. This week's Galaxy Brain Club, the LCS All-Pro vote. First one for Power Spike. All right, guys. Let's start top down. We know that it's Impact. But then where do we go from here? Do we have any edgy ones that we can go with? Is Thanatos just going to take it? Like, what do we do? Is it Bwipo after that last performance that we saw?
No.
All right. There we go.
No, it's not.
Let's do this. Chat, get in here on this one as well. If you want to participate or have your voices heard, let us know in the comments right now. If you're chat over at YouTube or in the comments afterwards, let us know what your votes are. I won't do it right away. And if you have like a really funny reason why, maybe I'll put that as a vote. All right, let's do it. Okay. Impact, who are names that come to mind here in top lane?
Thanatos has to be number 2, right?
Yeah, I think Thanatos number 2. I mean, for me, I think the hardest thing is because the league has been so top heavy, and because the players on the bottom teams just all look so outclassed, it's very hard to have anyone that's not on the top 3 teams be in this conversation for All-Pro. Like I was looking through names and it's like, can you like you can't make an argument that like Huhi, Zazel, like Ayla, Tomio, or not Tomio, Ole, like Isles, like these guys have not played well enough. You can't put them in that conversation for like jungle. You can't have Armeo, Contracts, Tomio, like River has had so many bad games. Speaking, it's very hard to like put other names in this conversation. So I think for me, I'm like having essentially FlyQuest, Cloud9, and TL, but like rosters obviously shuffled
throughout. Like, there's no other top laner that you put in front of Whippo. Sorry, Whippo.
It's so hard because it's like the only person that would come to my mind there is Sniper. But even in the series that they played, it's like the first game Sniper played better than Whippo in my opinion. But then Whippo 2-3, like he just did better. So it's like it's hard to place even him because Whippo did play better than him in the majority of the games that they played. But it's like Sniper is important for that team. But at the same time, I felt that Sniper looked better last split than in this one.
For sure. I mean, names that come to mind. A stretch is Fake God. Fake God had a couple here at the end, like a couple of carry moments on Gnar. It was only specifically on Gnar. Another one that comes to mind,
Castle.
given, Castle. Another one is Dokla, given the fact that Fox hasn't been so great, which meant him, Contracts has been suffering a little bit as well. Dokes has had very bad games, but also very good games. Like, that's what I feel like we're picking from if you're not picking Whippo. And is there someone who was good enough that you're like, do we put in front of Whippo?
for me. No, like, I think that like when you consider like Whippo's had some bad games, but like I mean, Dokla's had some horrible games. I mean, that Rumble game that he played recently, like he's just running around the map, just infeeding the entire map. Like it's crazy bad. So for me, it's probably Whippo third, even though it's not a feel good third, but it is a third.
Yeah, Yamato.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like Castle. I think he laned well, but he's so elo held because like I hate. I hate is a strong word, but I guess I have to use it. Like Armao, he has to play with Armao. So in my mind, like Castle was like all right, but nothing that would make him be above Whippo. Probably that would be my like fourth, if anything, like the unique pick out of the remainder names.
Yeah. Damn. Chat's going. Let's see. What do we have here? Anything for top laners? People are throwing in other things that aren't top lane. Yeah, sorry for him, Al. Like, feels bad. Had a long career. It was good, but when Kobe cooked him, I was like, damn, that's rough. That's real rough. All right. So we go 1, 2, 3. Pretty straightforward, I guess, and it gets more straightforward after this. Let's go to jungle. Who do we have here at jungle? Does it go Umpty inspired Blabber? Is it inspired Umpty Blabber? Is it Umpty third? Where do we go here?
I have Umpty third. I have Umpty third. I have inspired first. Umpty third. I think Blabber, you can make an argument for him being first. I think that's the difference for me is like in the direct matchup, I think Blabber played better. But I think that Inspired had some like really, really insane Lilia games where like Blabber had some games earlier on. Like when he was trying to play Nidalee earlier on with Cloud9, there was a lot of like kind of do nothing games in there that I don't think really would have would fly. So for me, it's Inspired, Blabber, then Umpty third.
On my end, I defer to Dom's judgment on this one, but in my mind, I would put Blabber first because I think Inspired. I think that he is very, very good at playing correct, and I think that's an attribute that can be very, very respected. I think FlyQuest is a team that, in a lot of cases, aren't precise enough to lean into that, and I think that Inspire is very in tune with what he needs to do in order to win through his champion. I think that he has a very, very good like champion pool and he can like cover in any meta. But like the Inspire that I loved the most was the one when he won with EG, and I think that when he plays like a more dynamic game, and if he's capable of doing that with even like the carries, where he can like adjust, maybe like does a level 3 gank or like finds angles that are unorthodox, I think that this would make him so complete. That's the main thing that I'm lacking. I think that Blabber is a little bit better there, but I think in terms of precision, Inspired is like the guy. You know, it's like the decisions are correct through the lens of what he does, but then it's like Bwipo does this, his bot lane does that, and it's like sometimes the right decision is sometimes the wrong one, if that makes sense.
So then I would challenge you just a little bit, just because like it is kind of pretty straightforward 1, 2, 3 with the top 3 teams. The only other player that comes to mind to possibly take Umti's spot, if that's your grading scale, would be Boogie, who came in late in the split, but he changed Shopify, and Umti was a Sejuani Maokai merchant. Like he basically only played that, right?
I think Boogie's done well, but I mean, he didn't play half the split. So for me, I wouldn't even consider him. Like, if you don't play half the split, I don't think you get to be in the conversation here. And then also, like, the last series he played was Troll Games, right? Where he's playing like Eve and stuff like this. So he only really played 3 series that we're judging him on. It's just not enough.
All right. There you have it. There was one guy that was spamming Boogie. I just needed to throw that one out there because it was actually not provoking. All right. Next up, into mid lane, APA, Jojo, Quad. Is there anyone else? Quid? No.
Nope.
Those are the 3, bro. Those are the 3. I think
Those
those
are the
are
three.
as well, for sure, yeah.
I'm down
Quad
for
me.
started slow.
Yeah. I think it's I think for me it's like pretty easy. Like I personally just have APA first, Quad second, Jojo third. That's it.
Okay.
flipped. Jojo and Quad.
I guess for me, I would put Jojo second over Quad, but I understand where it would come from due to like when they matched up. I think that Quad did very, very well in lane, right? Like the Lucian Corki, I think he solo killed Jojo Pune, so I can see where that's coming from. On my end, I think that that Quad, like the first, I guess, 2 weeks, I give him a pass, of course, because he's joining the team and he's adjusting, so I didn't think that it would be bad, but that's what's sticking in the back of my mind. I think that it's something that I want to see more of when it comes to FlyQuest. I feel like their drafts are so polarizing in terms of how the game needs to progress. So I don't get to see how Quad progresses the game through farming side lane, because I think that's where Jojo could do better, and I want to see more games where Quad explores those concepts, because it's always like FlyQuest is like they stomp early, they very, very early game centric in terms of how they draft, and I'm curious to see how that progresses.
Okay. Boom. All right. I was writing it down just to make sure I have it so I can put it in later. All right. Next up, bot lane, Yan. Yan Berserker Masu? Yan. How do you see this one? Yan, I think it's Yan. Is it Yan Masu Berserker? I'm not sure. What do you think here, Dom?
I have Berserker second, Masu third. That's what I have. I mean, Masu had some really good games. I think they're both pretty similar. I just think that Berserker has been slightly better, but not by much.
Yeah, we're splitting hairs. We're splitting hairs here. Yamato.
I'm in the same boat. I think that Berserker was looking like the Berserker that we know of. I think that his spring playoffs wasn't like the greatest, and I think now in terms of how he played in best of threes, I think that he had like that presence when he has items. I think Masu had like some good Kalista games, and he had ways of making himself unique, and I think that was all right. But I don't think that he did anything that would make me want to put him above Berserker in this scenario.
In bot lane, just because I felt like mid was pretty much washed, I felt like, I asked my question about Boogie. Is there another bot laner that was close or at least stood out as fourth, given the fact that we've had such a big gulf? Sven is the name that comes to mind. FBI is another name that comes to mind.
Yeah, FBI, Sven. I think they're fine, but like their teams are so bad. It's like FBI has had some decent games. Then there's also games where he's kind of irrelevant. Like, there's like a Sven Ezreal game I remember, or maybe it was Kaisa actually into Ezreal. I think it was into Masu where he just got clapped. I mean, I just feel like there's a pretty big gap between these guys and the other 4 and 5.
It's such a bummer that like the team gap is so big that they weren't able to stand out like sometimes we have in the past.
Yeah, I think that the issue is that like the team gap is so big here because the player gap is so big That's kind of how I see it. Like I think that the players are individually just like better on the top 3 teams for the most part. Like the only person that I wanted, so like when because I did this originally like on stream, I had like an idea of just going through and seeing where I would land on All Pro. But like when you look at the only person that I thought like who could maybe not be All Pro is I thought Busio might be a question mark, but then you look at the other supports you have to choose from, and they're all so bad that it's like it's actually just so impossible to put anyone not on these teams, not All Pro.
Yeah, maybe Isles, maybe. I don't know.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah, because it's not Ayla. This split, it's not Huhi. It's not Ole. You know, maybe last split, maybe Ole, because he had all those crazy picks, but not this split. Not Zazel. Tough. Yamato, what do you yes, no on the 4-5 with Huhi Sven?
I think Bevo is pretty like Elo Health. I think they had like some solid games. Like this like games just will look crumbling around them when he's like 1-0 up. But it's just that AD carry is a position where you're like fairly limited based on what you can and cannot do based on what's going on in the game. And I think that it doesn't make sense it becomes increasingly difficult to rate them in the 4-5. I think Sven, that whole dig team are just like playing champions that they like are used to, and they are sticking to them. And I think that there's like some champions that are like missing in the pool that I would want to see. I think that FBI probably was the best player in my mind on NRG in terms of like consistency, but I guess B-Boy is a name that I would throw in there. It's like to follow up like the support conversation. It's like you mentioned like not placing Busio in there, but I feel like support is by far the worst role in North America. I think the supports. I feel like that's the biggest edge that Team Liquid have is that Coach JJ is so much better than everyone in terms of understanding how to put down vision, where he needs to be, in terms of how he connects, and in terms of how he plays space, and as well in terms of what champions he chooses to play to make his team comps like cohesive. Because I think that like Busio is a player that is mechanically fine on like certain champions, but and it's like he plays like Rakan, like Renata Bard. But then it's like when I see him on some of the melee supports, I am mind blown by what I see, and I think
His
from
Alistar,
Vulcan's
man.
end,
His Alistar can be so bad. Sometimes it's really hard to watch.
it's very very hard to watch. I feel like the support role it's like you need to have some mid laners that are not on the main teams or in academy. You need to see an opportunity to role swap into support and take some jobs, because it's like even looking at the best supports that have played, it's like Sven was a role swap, KoJJ was a role swap. It's like all of these, who he was a role swap when he was like at his best as well. Like it's time to role swap into support and take some damn jobs, because you're gonna ask us dGon who is gonna be top 3. I don't want to put anyone 2-3 because they are just so far away from KoJJ, you know. So it's tough for North America.
Yep. All right. Well, let's just lock it in. Core, Vulcan, and Busio there. I love Alan, and I'm glad that he's top 3. I'm sad that it is this type of top 3 where it's like, well, we could replace him, but we can't find anyone else. But he's top 3. Also a role swap. Remember, he way back in the day, he role swapped from mid to support, and this is where he's at. Papa Smithy made that call way back when. All right. MVP, Impact, who and who? Because I have to vote 3.
I think it's just Impact.
Well, I know, but I have to
21.
vote 3. I have to vote 3.
You have to figure it out yourself, dGon.
I've done the base thing in the past where I want someone to win. I've just left 2 and 3 empty, just to not distribute points to like. I don't want journalists to like skew the vote because they're voting on some random, you know. Like I've done MVP votes where I just leave it empty because I'm worried about all the snakes lurking in the position with the vote.
I remember there was like a Spanish journalist who like was voting like Jose Diodo like all pro first team and like newbie and these motherfuckers, bro. They're just like it's just crazy to see that like journalists can do that and they maintain their vote. They should instantly like it should just be a discounted vote. Like so bullshit, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll put him in there later. Probably, I don't know. I would go Impact. It's just Impact. Impact inspired core. Boom, done. All right.
That's fine.
And then coach 1, 2, 3. We'll just go 1, 2, 3. I don't know. We have to vote for coach, but being further away from the product, it feels a lot harder now than it was when I was in the press room and able to just hear the vibes of the teams and hear the process towards things. Got to see some of that over at EWC with the two teams there, but very different. All right, guys. Boom. That's our Galaxy Brain Club. A lot of big brained conversation on the top 3 here for NA. But we'll save the playoff conversation for next week because that's when things will be cooking and we'll have some playoff action really in there. Thanks so much for the episode this week. Thanks to all of our sponsors for helping us out, powering Last Free Nation. If you haven't already, take the time, like and subscribe to the channel, Culture as well, doing the videos, LFN Sports as well. Talk about Steph Curry just cooking everyone at the Olympics because we've got our basketball podcast. That was sick. Also, the Olympics was over. What was your favorite moment from the Olympics? Even if you didn't watch the actual thing, like, did you see a moment that was your favorite here, Dom?
I like the Chinese gymnast when everyone else was biting the medal, when she just bit the medal too. When, like the way she just looked over. I don't know. I thought that was like a pretty funny moment. I like that one.
Yeah. Yamato, did you have one?
The fucking Australian or whatever, the breakdancing. Did you guys see that shit, bro?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, that
God
was-
bless. I don't watch shit for Olympics, but like the memes that got curated, like the Turkish gunman who is for sure an
Yeah.
assassin.
Yeah.
It was some good memes came out of that for
In
sure.
terms of like the actual games, for me, like the Steph Curry moment, like I'm a huge basketball fan, right? So like the Steph Curry moment where he just put it all up in France, just in front of the whole French crowd. Like they just knew, like that was a game ender where it's like, yep, okay, if Curry does that, we just can't win. So you just accept second place. All right, you guys got it. USA team gets first place.
I've rewatched that shot so many times. I'm waiting for like NBC or whoever to release like the dagger from all different angles because
I mean,
it was disgusting.
It was just four different. It was just 4 threes in a row. It's just boom, 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 boom. Okay, go home. Like he put it. He made sure that France was put to sleep.
Yeah.
What's the league equivalent of what he did? Because I don't know shit about basketball.
It's like, I don't know. I don't even know if there would be one.
I would say it's like you're still close, but in the next 3 team fights,
It's like
the next
it's like
3
a
team fights.
it's like an assassin. It's like a LeBlanc. I would say it's like a LeBlanc just one-shotting 4 different carries at the end of a game. Like just in every fight, he just one-shots carry, one-shot carry, one-shot carry, one-shot carry, and the game just ends. Like, it would be something like that.
Yeah, because everyone was like, "Don't let that happen again," and then they double teamed him. They're like, "Don't let that happen again," and then he did it. He did it 3 times in a row. The game was over. It was sick.
Yeah,
it was super sick. I think for me, shit, I love the Olympics. I loved all of it. Filipinos getting gold medal again. The gymless Carl Yulo. I forgot his name. I fucked it up. Whatever. But I think it's early in the Olympics. The U.S. women's rugby beat Australia to get a bronze medal, and it was their first medal in 100 years or something like that. And there's a slow-mo of the final moment. Basically, in rugby, it's once the ball goes out of bounds and the time's over, the game's over. And they got scored on. They were losing, and they basically needed to score a try and then kick the ball through the posts. And the U.S. got the ball back on their own 5-yard line. And this girl broke 3 tackles and then just outran everyone across the whole field with no time left. Scores, boom, they win. U.S. beat Australia at rugby for their first gold in 100 years. It was sick. It was so sick. I think it set the tone for the rest of the events. Because we knew we were going to win a lot in track and field, but everything else not so much. So anyways, those are our thoughts. You can get those types of thoughts over at Last Free Nation YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks to all of you for listening here on Power Spike. We'll do it again next week as things get heated up in the playoffs and the race to worlds. Until then, take care, and we'll see you later.